Hey, are you guys having a good time? Yeah, I am too. Yeah, it's this Level Up Live experience was designed to be a brainchild, and the brainchild is very simply, how do I take amazing thought leaders and introduce them to brand spanking new audiences around the world? So we created this event thinking that most events that you go to are thousands of dollars, right? My good friend Tony Robbins, for example, I think the entry ticket for him is like $7,000 for a nosebleed seat, or $3,000 for a virtual seat. And I'm like, I don't know about you guys, but my story didn't start like that. I didn't have that kind of dough to throw into an event or throw into an inspirational thing. But yet, I had a buddy of mine at 18 years old that invited me to an Amway conference, right? I don't know if you guys have ever tried the Amway thing, or maybe you're still doing Amway. No harm, no foul. It's all good. It's not my vehicle. But in that experience, I got to be introduced to a guy by the name of Les Brown. How many of you guys know Les Brown? Few of you? Yeah, everybody knows Les Brown. All right, because he's one of the #1 speakers on the face of the planet. Man's been speaking for over 35 years, had him on the podcast not too terribly long ago, and I had a chance to share this really brief story with you, or with him, about how I went to this conference, lights flashing, all the kind of fun stuff, the energy's hype, the music's good, everybody's high-fiving, like, let's go, like you're going through all that kind of stuff, and the coolest thing happened. He began talking and speaking, and even though I was thousands of seats away, even though I was that far away, I felt like he was talking to me. I felt like he was talking to me in such a way that said, hey, son, you know what? You're going to be something one day. Now, I grew up in an environment where, let's just say that being something of anything other than a broke, poor person was my reality. Until he began telling me the story about his youth growing up, about I can't say it the way he does it because it's just really cool how he kind of enunciates it, but being diagnosed as mentally retarded at a very young age, yet becomes one of the most famous speakers on the planet. And then he utters these words, ladies and gentlemen, it's possible. It's possible to achieve your dream. It's possible to do more than you think. It's possible to be better than you ever imagined. And again, I felt like he was talking to me. It was the first time in a long string of broken mentorship pieces where people had tried to pour into me, tried to give me hope, tried to give me inspiration, tried to somehow save me from duplicating the same effort that I went through as a child for my parents. My parents, I love them to death, and they're amazing human beings now. They've done a lot of work on themselves, but early on, Dad was an alcoholic. Mom seemed to struggle with depression and manic depression and things of that nature. So, as you can imagine, what happens when two broken people come together? They can't build something whole. And then when you throw kids into the mix, now the kids are dealing with self-worth. I had a good friend of mine, Rory Vade, invited me on his podcast. That's probably closer to a year ago. And I had this interesting epiphany while I was on the podcast. He said, Stephen, why do you think it is that you care so much about doing live events for anybody and everybody? People that can't afford live events, people that can't afford live events, people who go to the elite live events. Why on earth do you do this type of stuff? And better yet, why have you decided to get on stage and actually talk and speak and be as transparent and vulnerable and authentic as you can possibly be? Why? And it wasn't until that actual conversation that it dawned on me. I think my entire life, much like I think every speaker will go through, every leader, every business leader, every salesperson, anybody who performs at the elitist levels in the world, it came down to one comment. I said, Rory, God's honest truth, dude, I think it's because I've been trying to figure out this entire time, am I worthy of a voice? Got, ladies and gentlemen, I'm 5'0" I got my grandmother to thank for that. She is 4'11", and she owned my grandfather, who is 6'3". Somehow the genes got screwed up. Everybody else got the height, but I got the brains, right? And I'll never forget this. My grandmother said, you know what? Good things come in small packages. I'm like, oh, Grandma, thank you. That's very nice. She goes, and don't you forget, so does dynamite. And I was like, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I get all the time is questions around How did you become homeless? How did you go from homeless to where you're at today? It happens all the time. It's the number one question that gets asked on podcasts. So much so that I had to create a video that I send out to potential people that I'm supposed to show up on shows for and say, hey guys, I love you. This is awesome. That stuff can be found all over the place on YouTube. Like I have answered that question a few different ways. And then I discovered that in reality, my personal transformation is possible. Again, Les Brown, it's possible, baby. It's possible, if you will, to actually get to a place where my transformation can equal your transformation by following something called a principle. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that principles govern promises. If there's something in your life, in your business, in your career, in your relationship that you want to obtain in your life, there's a guiding principle to get you there. So here's the truth. When I say principles govern promises, I'm going to give you a handful of principles super quick today. So make sure you got your iPhones out, your note-taking device, whatever your methodology is for taking a note. Because what I'm about to show with you is what took me from homelessness to where I'm at today, which is multiple businesses, employing hundreds of people, and now trying to figure out a way to take what I have learned over the last 25 plus years in entrepreneurship and life struggles and homelessness and an attempted suicide attempt, all of that to say this is where I am today. And the roadmap can be followed by anyone. You see, I discovered that the reason I became homeless was not because of drugs, not because of any external circumstance other than really four things: arrogance, ignorance, impatience, and lack of focus. Arrogance, ignorance, impatience, and lack of focus. Arrogance. I already think I know what it is I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Like, I know it all. I know me better than you know me. You can't possibly give me information to fix me. I already know better. Well, if that was true, ladies and gentlemen, then why on earth would I be where I was? Okay? Ignorance. You don't know what you don't know. I'm currently trying to train entrepreneurs all over the place. Take 5-figure entrepreneurs and help them build 8-figure empires. Some with the principles that I've got here, some with the process management, some of the things that kind of go into that, because there is a proven strategic way to duplicate your efforts and compound your time, your talent, and your resources on a regular basis if you follow a protocol. Impatience. I meet entrepreneurs all the time, thought leaders all the time. They all think I should be further than I am right now. All of them, consistently across the board. My business should be bigger, my life should be better, my relationship should be tighter. It's all supposed to be happening now. Ladies and gentlemen, I suffice it to say, I believe after banging my head against a wall for upteen years, that you are where you are today because that's all you've allowed yourself to be. And if you're going to do something better, become something more, today is the day to start. You follow me? All right, let's go ahead and jump in for a second. So first of all, I like to believe in what's called unstoppable solutions, okay? Unstoppable solutions is geared towards taking a single principle and taking every piece of wisdom and knowledge that's actually part of that and breaking it apart in such a way that you can use it a lifestyle way, consistently across the board, and it's completely scalable. A principle is a life truth. In other words, it does what it says it's supposed to do. For example, as we start to dig into things, this is the bridge I almost took my life from. Because I wasn't living by principle, I was living by reaction. Now, when you contrast that to what everybody thinks is cool, what they like to omit is the fact that high school dropout, dyslexia, ADHD, had a hard time connecting with people, social anxiety, all these types of things that have now become not as close to me as they were once. So let's talk about this. I'm a construction guy. My first business was a construction company that I literally started out of the trash piles, not too actually far from this event center. And as I began bringing into things, I began realizing that maybe I should own my construction background as well as begin to take that and merge that with the teaching that kind of goes with it. Now, I'm coming back to principles in just a second, I promise. You see what I did there? Principles and promise? Yeah. All right. Here's the cool thing. It wasn't until March of this past year that I actually owned my construction background. Okay? That I finally started talking about my background, because all my thought leader friends, none of them have a construction background. And it's not as sexy as IT. It's not as sexy as AI or IT or sales or marketing or some kind of Bitcoin or whatever. It's not sexy until you need something built. What you guys see in here is something that came out of here, but it also came out of a set of plans. Every single dream requires the ability to break it down into fundamentals, i.e. principles. There's a note page on the beginning of every single set of plans that talks about what you're about to see and unveil in the set of plans. And then there's going to be things like, I don't know, let's look in here. Let's see what we got in here. Oh, this is where the electrical and the ceiling tiles go. Can you imagine trying to build this building and this event center without a set of plans? But yet we try to build our businesses, our lives, and relationships without any goals, aspirations, or fundamentals in mind. So as we start to break this down, let's do it this way. One of the things I want you to understand is that great foundations require clarified fundamentals. Great foundations require clarified fundamentals. Why? Because if you can't clarify it, you'll never obtain it. The number one thing that I help people get in their businesses when I'm doing strategy sessions with them is clarity. They have no idea what they're aiming at. I'm helping a thought leader friend, speaker friend of mine right now, and their entire business model is based on them running around the country all year long, which, as you can imagine, leaves them depleted. Now, they're making a good living and an income, but it's not scalable, which means even though they're making a great income and they're traveling all over the place and they're speaking all over the place and they're making a difference, which is fantastic, they are never going to have freedom. I'm on this stage right now, hopefully giving you my heart right now, and meanwhile, my businesses are making money with me on stage. That's scalable. That's what the fundamentals play into. Let's talk about the next one. As we kind of go into it, living an authentic life. How many of you guys know people who are very gifted at one thing, but yet they're doing something different? Maybe you are very gifted at one thing and doing something different, which means you're living incongruently. Time magazine did a Harris poll not that long ago, and one of the things that they discovered as part of a survey, this is before COVID, that over 70% of the population would say that they're unhappy, unfulfilled, and not living their best life. I would argue that it's because they're not living the life that they're supposed to live. They're living a life that someone told them they're supposed to live. They're in a career that someone told them they should have. They're in a relationship that someone told them they should do. They have zero replenishment plan. They have zero things that they're putting at their disposal on a consistent basis to make sure that they can actually be fulfilled. Also, they haven't done the discovery process to figure out what does light them up. It wasn't until I stepped on stage one time that I was like, hey, this is cool. Why I'm not this? Well, I get the butterflies and stuff. This doesn't scare me, but it scares a lot of people. Why is that? That's weird. Let's talk about momentum for a second. How do you guys create momentum? It's simple, daily action steps. You see, once you clarify your path through fundamentals and you merge that with a congruent lifestyle, now you're getting closer to being able to operate in what some refer to as flow. Flow, the ability to be in congruency with, or to be congruent with oneself in a profession that is also congruent with self, also with an impact that is congruent with self. That is flow. But again, if you can't learn to build this stuff up, you'll never have an unstoppable solution or an unstoppable lifestyle. Momentum is created by daily moments. The action items, the things that you think, the things that you do, the consistency that you do them, your routine, your habits, whatever you want to call it, matters. Whether or not you're getting replenished on a regular basis, whether or not you're standing up for yourself on a regular basis with healthy boundaries, whether or not you're taking reflection time to ask yourself the hard questions. What's right with my life? What's wrong with my life? What's confusing in my life? What's missing from my life? Simple questions that create a neuro response that allow you to actually understand yourself at a deeper level. A deeper level. What if you actually took the time to understand yourself at a deeper level? What if? All right, as we're moving on, I discovered this interesting concept called emotional intensity. Now, I'm going to say a comment. I'm going to let you sit on it for just a second. And then I want you to ask yourself, am I applying this to my life, my business, my career? Okay? And that is, your emotional intensity must be in alignment with your aspirational identity. Emotional intensity aligned with aspirational identity. Now, that may sound a itty bit confusing, so let me break this down. Most of us are making decisions based on past because that's what we've experienced so far. Therefore, our focus is on what has happened rather than what should be coming or what should happen. One of the things I love about leaders and having leaders in the audience and being able to hang out with leaders and thought leaders and business owners and entrepreneurs is one, because I get them, because we're the same people. It's cool. But also because so many times what's holding them back from going from 7 figures to 8 figures has more to do with them than their business. They're so focused in a past divorce or a past business failure or this or that or the other thing. And as a result, they stay stuck. So I want to challenge you to take your emotional fortitude, your focus, where you put your heart, your soul, your guide, your chutzpah in. But I want you to focus it on your aspirational you. Who do you want to become? Because if you don't, you will always be the same person you are right now, which could be the same person you were 5 years ago. Let that sink in. Clearly define with fundamentals, with practice, with intention, with emotional fortitude, who and what you ultimately want for your life. Not because someone told you had to, not because you think you need to do it this way. Be honest with yourself and you will be free from yourself. All right, final point. Here we go. Whoops, I went backwards. Perseverance and patience. I discovered that in order to get further, faster, consistently, it's going to happen a lot slower than we think it should happen routinely. It's going to happen slower. So rather than focus on how slow it's coming, why not actually be patient through the purpose of perseverance? Take the perseverance to walk through the difficulties, the challenges. Rather than looking like those as obstacles, look at them as learning lessons. And if you'll do those things consistently, routinely, on a regular basis, and getting people to wrap yourself up together, if you will do those, you will ultimately create a legacy that outlives you. And one day, you'll be golden and make a massive difference. I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed Level Up Live. Much love. Peace.